Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up, where we catch up with some of your favorite past professional athletes. And this week, you've dressed appropriately.
Yes, I did. I definitely did.
We've got a guy who this year became the first person to ever play in a Super Bowl and officiate a Super Bowl.
That is Terry Killens. What's up, Terry? How you doing, TK?
Living a dream. How y'all doing?
Doing great, girl. Glad to have you here.
Excellent.
So we appreciate you being here. So tell us how you went from playing to being an official.
Well, the journey was long, and it had its bumps in the road. But when I got out of football, I was looking for that next thing. I wasn't like these guys today, or like Skills. I didn't have any plans. I thought I was going to retire after 10 years and sit at home and be a stay-at-home dad. I tried that, and it was hard. And much respect out there to those mothers and them wives who doing their thing. I got into coaching for a second, but knowing my competitive nature, it's too nomadic of a lifestyle for me. So I was looking for that thing that kept me tied to the game, that gave me that same locker room feel that I once had when I was a player. And a buddy of mine, he brought up officiating basketball first. And I missed that opportunity because I waited too late to sign up for the class. And then that following summer, I made a call to a guy who was doing a football class. And he said, bring a check for $100 and I'll get you started with officiating scholastic football.
All right. That's sweet. I mean, and I hear that NFL players, and this is from the other officials, they prefer an NFL athlete to be an official because you move up the ladder a little quicker than the normal, slow place, ACC, SEC, whatnot. You get moved, escalated through the process as far as being an official. Is that correct?
So. Not exactly. And with my experience, I had already started working in the college ranks in Division III when I met a guy who contacted me about kind of like this grassroots program that the NFL was kind of sponsoring.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, you didn't have to have much of a background in officiating. They were looking for retired players, but you still kind of had to start at the bottom.
Correct.
And work your way up. And yeah, you did have kind of a hand in being seen by other supervisors, supervisors of officiating in different conferences. But if you didn't have that kind of drive that you need, that you probably have as an athlete, and that patience, because that's the biggest thing that I find. And when they're looking at retired guys, they want to retire and then come right into the NFL, and it don't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have some kind of background in officiating. Like Skills, when you just didn't show up on Sunday.
Correct.
Like we put in the work. You had to put in the study. You had to, learn the defenses and study the other team, your opponent, and it's similar in officiating. You got to know the rules.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know the mechanics. You got to know the philosophies.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just showing up with a striped shirt on, a hat, and whistle, and a yellow flag.
Gotcha.
It's work that's involved in becoming official, especially at the highest level.
Yes, sir.
It's like a player. Like you're not just going, show up at Alabama or show up at Penn State or show up at Wake Forest. You know what I'm saying? And think you're going, next you're going to play there for 3 years or 3 or 4 years and leave and play in the NFL. It don't work like that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work like that at all. And I'm in awe because I appreciate the fact that I do get to see former athletes and former guys like you and I think Mike Morton is another guy I played with that are in that position and being successful. And I was just like in awe when I saw you at the Super Bowl. I was like, oh my God, I know that guy. I was like a big fan. So I mean, I applaud everything that you've done and you've accomplished, and just moving forward with life, man. It's good to see you. It really is good to see you.
I really appreciate that. It was good seeing you down. I think we were in Houston.
Yes.
When I ran into you for the first time. It was great seeing you. I hadn't seen you in years.
Yeah, I know.
Awesome seeing you. And you mentioned some guys that are retired players. Mike Morton is one. Nate Jones is one. Who Nate Jones came in with me. We were all kind of involved in what was the Football Officials Academy at that time, and it was kind of like a fast track for all of us. But it was more than just us that were involved in this program. And like I say, we were the three that lasted.
Wow.
Like it was a lot of us. And it was women involved, minorities. So it's a process of becoming an official, and it just wasn't handed to us. All three of us had to work extremely hard and come up the ranks in Division, 2, 3, Division 1, and finally get that opportunity where we were being trained in a developmental program that the NFL has. It's called the Mackey Developmental Program, and that's where they take basically Division 1 college officials, and we spend time with NFL crews.
Right.
So we go to training camp. We go to the meetings. We're involved in all those off-season things that a lot of people don't see when you're in the developmental program, and that kind of gets you an introduction of what you might be getting into if you're lucky enough to be selected to be one of the 122 NFL officials.
So that being said, being selected, going to the Super Bowl, what was that process like? I mean, because that's a big process just to be selected, right?
Right. So you have to be eligible first. So you have to have 5 seasons in the National Football League as an official. You have to work 3 consecutive years in the playoffs. And you also have to be basically ranked as one of the top people in your position. So we have a tier system.
Wow.
So you got to be at that top tier to be eligible to work the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And like you said, it's a long season, brother. A lot of ups and downs, bumps and bruises. And on top of all that, for a lot of us, we work in other jobs too.
Yeah.
So it's a long process to get to that point. And you got to grade out on top. You got to have a good season. Just like the teams and the players, a lot of things have to. The ball has to bounce your way a lot of the time too. So going through that process, I finished at the top as one of the top umpires in the National Football League. They trusted me enough to select me to work our biggest game.
Yes.
And it's pretty cool. I didn't realize it at the time until it started hitting social media and people started calling me that I was going to be the first to actually play in and then officiate a Super Bowl.
That is awesome.
So I took that in. It's special. I embraced it. I was just looking for it, and it just alone being able. I say lightning has struck for me twice. Being able to play in the National Football League and then work my way up to being able to officiate, and then being able to work the Super Bowl. I've embraced every moment, every opportunity. Like I said, the path wasn't easy, but I appreciate every little bit of that.
So, like a little segue to all of that, as far as players you've been around, teams you've been around, being able to officiate, what was the most fun, out of all this whole experience that you've gone through? And we can go back to football related, as far as being around certain players.
It's all been phenomenal. Oh my gosh. And it's hard for me to just pinpoint one thing, but I love going to training camp with my crew. That's the time that we don't see each other. We have what we call a dark period where we can't be contacted by the league, but we can still talk to our guys on the crew and stuff, and it's like a brotherhood. It's like a team, and that's exactly what it is. We're the 33rd team in the National Football League, and being able to get together with those guys that you probably hadn't seen for a few months at that point, it's almost like a reunion. I love going to training camp. I love the whole aspect of getting into training camp and just hearing the players, hearing the coaches, getting back into football, smelling the grass, all that smelling the players. Hell, you know how that is. I love it all. So just to say it's one thing, and then you get into the preseason games, and we know this as players. We talked about it here. Get into the preseason game, it's one speed.
Mm-hmm.
It amps up once you get into the regular season,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you get to that part of the season where jobs and playoffs and uh, bonuses are all on the line, it ramps up even more. And then when it hits the playoffs, it goes to that next level. I love all that about it. Being out there with the players, being out there with the coaches, being at the games, all that, pageantry and, the Sundays and the flyovers and the national anthem, that's to me, that's the best part of being it. And
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it so much more now. Like, I think I took it for granted when I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
Where I didn't embrace it as much. I like how it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
That's what I am. I'm him.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And you're young and you think this will never end. I'll do this forever, and that's not the reality of it. So getting this second chance, I feel like I've embraced everything so much more, because I remember it was a time I used to say this all the time. I don't know how many times I've been in New York, but literally I have never been in New York. I would be in that hotel room. We played the Jets or the Giants somewhere in Meadowlands, and we in Manhattan, or hell, we over in Jersey somewhere. And I never went out to Times Square. I had never seen Times Square. And then my first year when I got hired, we had our meetings in Manhattan, and we were staying in the Manhattan Marriott. And I took the time to actually walk to Times Square, and I look like a country boy. First time in the city, I'm walking with my head up, bumping the people, I'm bumping into people. And once I got down there, I was like, Times Square really looked like it does on television.
Mm-hmm.
So, just taking all these moments in and things like that, man. Having another opportunity to be a part of the National Football League has been amazing.
That's awesome.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned lightning struck twice for you, and I completely forgot to go over this. You had a long career in the NFL as a player. You went through the Oilers-Titans organization. You spent time with the Niners and the Seahawks, played in Super Bowl with the Titans. It's amazing that you had such a successful career there, and you're doing that, in the officiating thing. One thing that I was thinking about, and maybe you can talk about this. You said you're an umpire. How does that work as far as, like, did you choose to go that route? Can you become a head referee? Tell us a little bit about how that process is.
So I'll give you the shortest answer for the referee question, because that'll be quick. No, I never want to be a referee. That's like I know people have aspirations to be, a referee, but that was never mine. I'm more of so I use the mafia dynamic, kind of like you have the big boss, the boss of bosses, and then you have the underboss. In my position, I look at the umpires like the underboss. I deal with the streets.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm out there with the offensive, defensive linemen, the linebackers. I'm out there with them grimies in the trenches, and that's where I like to be at. And that's because probably coming up, college and International Football League, when I was a player, that's where I played. That was my position. I was a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
And I dealt with them trenches a lot. And I heard all the talking. I played with a guy like John Henry Skills Mills, who did a lot of talking. We played against opponents who did a lot of talking back in those days. So I'm used to that. I'm accustomed to, those words that are being thrown around that might offend other people. That doesn't offend me. So when I first got into officiating, you learn all the different positions, right? So it's where I'm from in Ohio, you have 5 positions in high school. Once you get up to college, when I first started college, it was only 7, and then it went to 8. Most of the in that aspect, I tried to stay where I was comfortable with. Once I started moving up, so I became an umpire. I was a traditional umpire, which was behind the defensive linebackers,
right,
on the defensive side of the ball. And when I first started getting into college officiating, I had to get out of that player mode, because I would be down there in my linebacker stand, and when I'm an official now, and when that guard would pull, I'm damn near running with the guard. So that's not how it works. So, I had to kind of recalibrate my thinking as far as like, being a player and now an official, because it's two different ways of thinking. But to answer another one of your questions, it does give you an advantage of knowing the game, because I understand the language that the coaches and the players are talking. I understand what a TE game is. I understand what a wide nine is or a three technique.
Yes.
Where a lot of guys, when they come into a game, they're book smart, so they can look at a real rule book and know it. But do you really know the game? And that was another thing that really had me fall in love with the game of football again, because I thought as a player, you think you know a lot about the game. Sure, I know how to read coverages, and I know what a 9 route, the 8, the 7, all those routes and everything what the offense is trying to do to us. But it was the intricacies of the rules that got me thinking, like, wow, I know nothing. Like, I know what a false start is. I think I know what a DPI is back then, or defensive pass interference. But did I know what the penalty enforcement was? Did I know about the philosophy and why they changed this rule? What is illegal contact in the NFL, and why they don't? Why did they start illegal contact in the NFL, and why they don't have it in college, and things, or in high school? Things like that is what kind of, like, I already was in love with the game, and it just, like, I use this example all the time. So you in love with a girl, and then, like, you've been with her forever. Like, you ended up marrying her, y'all together. And then all of a sudden, 20 years in, she does something, or you find out something else about her that make you fall in love with her all over again, and just that much more. That's how I feel about coming off it from being a player to being an official.
Right. That's awesome. That's a good story. I like that.
Hey, I got a question I was thinking about with being an official. You mentioned the preparation that you guys do prior to the game, just like the players. Do you sort of scout the teams? Like, are there tendencies that you prepare for based on players or teams, maybe win-losses going on? Is there anything like that's involved with your preparation?
Right. So win-loss is nothing. No, we don't think about that. For me, personally, I like to look at my matchups, because, like, if you got a rookie tackle going up against Von Miller in his prime, that could be problem. So, and that's my position, where I'm in the offensive backfield. I'm an umpire in the offensive backfield of the National Football League. And I just scout my positions. I like to know my quarterbacks. I like to know my running backs, because I don't deal with defensive backs and wide receivers as much. I'm not as focused on my preparation as far as they're concerned. But most of the time, like I said, I'm more into the matchups and my interior, my guards, my center with the defensive tackles and defensive linemen, the linebackers and things like that, who might be coming off the edge. I do work on my formations, because I like to know offensive formations. Like, if I can identify a trips or a slot receiver that might be flexed, because that has to deal with penalties and enforcements and things like that. So I do have to know all that as well. But, like, when I'm really strategically breaking down my film, I'm more focused on the interior line play.
You mentioned film. Do you review your past game, look through that, and analyze what you did and what you might improve on?
Is that solo, or you do that with a group?
So both. So we have what we call our self-reviews. Each crew does a self-review. So we'll come off the game, and this isn't even this is separate from what we do as far as our National Football League responsibilities. This is just our thing. So we'll have a self-review. Each crew member will go over the film, and we'll look at it like we're grading the film. We'll look at our plays, and we'll look at other plays that might catch our eyes. And it's not just about officiating; it's just plays throughout the game. We'll do a Google spreadsheet on that, and we'll make comments in it. When we show up on Saturday for our pregame, that'll be part of our pregame analysis. Which is old business, which is the game from the previous week, and we'll go over our referee. Pick out little things that he's seen from our self-review, and he'll pull those plays, put the video up, match those plays with the video. And if we have any questions, or if it's a good play, or if it's something we need to work on, he'll pull that up. We'll go over that thing, and that's part of our pregame preparation.
Okay.
Cool. So, a couple of quick questions for you. Let's go back to your playing days.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the best dressed player you suited up with?
Bro, back in them days,
Yeah.
we wear T-shirts and jeans. It's crazy when you say that. Yeah, because it was crazy. 'Cause I used to wear WWE T-shirts sometimes. Until right around '99, it started to change in '99. Uh, I would have to say because you know what I will say it will start with probably oh shoot when Yancey Thigpen was a sharp dresser.
Mm-hmm.
When he came with the Titans. I got Steve McNair's Taylor. He was always sharp around that time. And right around '99, that's when I started to change. That was probably my 5th year in the league. I started to change. I became a little more mature. I was married. My wife was getting me right. So to answer that question, oh my gosh, that's a great question. Because we did start dressing nice back then. Josh Evans was a good dresser.
Josh?
Yeah, I would have to go with Eddie. I would have to go with Eddie. Eddie always had nice suits.
Okay.
Like, he always wore nice suits. Yeah, I would say Eddie.
And that's Eddie George, right?
Right.
Eddie George. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Cool.
We're going to do a little player word association. We're going to throw one name out, and you just give us one word about that individual. First one, Steve McNair.
Okay. A legend.
Legend. Good.
Next one we just talked about, Eddie George.
Buckeye. I went to Penn State.
Got it. Bruce Matthews.
Class act. Well, I know that's we can hyphenate it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Chris Dishman.
One word. Awesome.
Awesome. Good.
I got to tell you, it's been a pleasure, Terry.
Definitely.
Having you on here. It's such a cool, different perspective. We've been talking with former players, but to dive into the officiating world and hear that is just so cool today.
And that's what I was really interested about. I mean, just because, obviously the longevity and what you've done all the way up until now. I mean, it's exciting to see it and see, you excel at it. That's the thing that I admire big time. And good seeing you, man. And like when you see me on the sideline with one of my hats on, just come make sure you say hello. That's all that matters.
That's gonna happen. I tried, and you know what? The hats be fly, and I'm trying to get my hat game right. So I'm not far behind, but I'm not as fly as you are with the hat game.
Terry,
thanks so much again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry. TK, I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome.
Glad to have you on.
Hey, y'all welcome. This is awesome. Keep up the good work, fellas.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for this week on Catching Up. We'll catch you next time.